Hello, my name is Rhonda Roberts, and I chose to do my action research proposal for content area vocabulary at Sherman Elementary. Sherman Elementary is a rural school located in Boone County in Comfort, West Virginia. The school consists of grade levels pre-K through 5, and there are between 300 and 350 students. There's an even distribution of male and females with a 49 to 51 ratio. The population consists of 99% Caucasians, with less than 1% Hispanic and Black. Many of our students come from a low socioeconomic background, and many parents are suffering from drug addiction, so parental involvement is low. The purpose of this study was to determine the current state of vocabulary teaching and learning at Sherman Elementary. Also, I wanted to know, what do teachers and administrators think can be done to improve vocabulary teaching and learning at Sherman Elementary? There are several sources of literature that guided me through this study. The first was an article titled "The Word Gap: The Early Years Make the Difference." The author, Laura Colker, discusses the effect of poverty. There's a 32 million word gap in a child's vocabulary from an affluent home compared to a child living in an impoverished home. Therefore, students are at a huge disadvantage from day one. A few ideas that she suggests are for pre-K teachers to use new and interesting words in everyday conversations. A discussion that some of my colleagues and I had was that teachers often try to talk to a student with a level or vocabulary that he or she is accustomed to hearing. We all agree that we need to be more aware of this and to use rich vocabulary in our conversations as a way to model and teach it. Another article that discusses the role that poverty plays in placing students at a disadvantage is The Early Catastrophe, the 30 Million Word Gap by age 3. Authors Hart and Riceley wrote about a long-term study whose participants were observed from 2 years of age to 8 years of age. There were 42 participants who were from low socioeconomic households, middle-income households, and affluent households. Studies indicated that 86 to 98% of the words recorded in each child's vocabulary consisted of words also recorded in parents' vocabulary. By the time the children were 3 years of age, trends in talk, vocabulary, and style were well established and clearly suggested widening of the gap. The continuation of this study showed that test performance of these same students in 3rd grade showed that there was still a relevant gap. When conducting this research, the methodology consisted of teacher surveys, face-to-face interviews with the principal and the former Title I teacher, as well as analyzing data from the 2016-2017 Smarter Balanced test scores. This slide shows the schedule that was used for data collection. Week 1, I administered online surveys to teachers kindergarten through grade 5 and had at least one participant per grade level. Week 2, I conducted face-to-face interviews with the principal to get her ideas on how she thought we could improve vocabulary and feedback on what she had seen when observing teachers teaching vocabulary. Also, I spoke with a Title I teacher and got her input. She's been to various workshops throughout the years and had quite a bit of input to give me on vocabulary. Week 3, I reviewed the data from the Smarter Balance test. And week 4, we brainstormed with some participants and devised a plan to increase vocabulary at each level. The results of the data showed that students at all grade levels struggle with reading comprehension, and that students struggle with articulation and writing. Our students score low on standardized test scores and overall have a low academic performance. One of the questions on the survey asked teachers to share strategies that they use to teach vocabulary in their classrooms. I was a little disappointed on the answers that I received to this question. They weren't clear and concise. Teachers responded with things like direct instruction, exposure and usage, and to use the newsletter to introduce new vocabulary words every week. Another question on the online survey asked teachers to share what problems they encountered when teaching vocabulary. Struggling readers was the prominent problem, with vocabulary deficits at a close second. Since many of our students come from poverty-stricken homes, they enter school lacking rich vocabulary. Because of this problem, even our teachers at the primary levels begin backfilling as soon as a student enters their classroom. One of our goals is to work as quickly as possible to address this deficit. When analyzing the Smarter Balance results, I noticed that grade levels 3 through 5 all scored at 55% or lower in English Language Arts. We had even lower scores in mathematics in grades 3 and 5. Grade 3 students scored 51% and grade 5 students scored at 36% or lower. I was pleasantly surprised to see that students in 4th grade scored 71% or higher in math. The Title I teacher had told me that she felt like our students had improved in overall student vocabulary, but not in academic vocabulary. This is one of the problems that we will be addressing in our vocabulary improvement plan. After reviewing the qualitative data, which consist of interviews, surveys, standardized test scores, and research journals, I've concluded that the best way to address the vocabulary deficit at Sherman Elementary is to have a school-wide teaching strategy. Teachers will use the Freyer model graphic organizer as the universal teaching strategy. We will also use a book study, using the book called Bringing Words to Life, Robust Vocabulary Instruction. This will guide us on our selection of vocabulary words that need to be taught. And we will also be assessing frequently, not only to address student learning, but to be able to do self-reflection and see how our teaching might need to change. Listed below is a list of resources that I used for this study. Thank you for your time and for giving me the opportunity to share the results of my vocabulary content research for Sherman Elementary. Does anyone have any questions for me?